Edgar Allan, Chapter 26, the last chapter. It was late afternoon. We walked down the path and turned right on our usual route. Father held his pipe in one hand and had others stuck in his pocket. I couldn't help myself. Prince of Peace was walking on Father's right. We didn't talk at all for a while. We just kept walking, past the big houses, through the shadows of the eucalyptus trees, and past the few cars parked along the curb. I wasn't going to say anything at first. I felt like it was up to Father. He must have guessed I didn't feel much like helping, for finally he said, "Well, Michael, we haven't talked in quite some time, have we?" "No," I allowed. "Why is that? Aren't we friends anymore?" "I don't know. There doesn't seem to be much worth talking about," I said. "Do you really believe that?" Father asked. "No, I don't, but there isn't much I want to talk about." "You're a stern judge, Michael." "Mother said the same thing, but I'm fair too." "How?" Father asked. "How are you fair when you won't hear my case?" "You don't have a case. After all you told us and everything you went after all you have told us and everything, you went right ahead and ruined it all at once." "It wasn't my intention." "That doesn't make any difference to me," I said, fast, rushing on in spite of myself, wanting more to listen, but having for some reason to talk instead. "You let everyone else get in the way of what you wanted to do, of what you knew was right. You let the church and the school and Mary Nell get between you and what you had planned. You backed down." "Ah, Michael," Father started to say, but I wasn't finished. "You can't possibly be a whole man. You wanted to live different parts of your life differently, and that's not right. You have taught me. You have taught me that, and whether you like it or not, I still want to believe in it." Father walked in silence for a minute. "Perhaps someday, not now, but in a year or so, Michael, you will let me present my case. Perhaps with a little more time, things won't quite seem so simple. It's hard to see everything when you're 12. I didn't say anything. A year is a very long time. But other people, Father said, and what they have said, and wanted to get to my weakest spot. To give in seemed to be the easiest thing to do. For a moment even, it seemed like the right thing to do. And in that moment, I did let you down, Michael. I let everyone down, and I am sorry for that, truly. Just as I was sorry the minute I drove away from the adoption agency. That was 1 minute too late, I snapped. I was sorry as soon as I heard it, that I had said what I had said just the way I said it. But it was true, and there wasn't anything to do about it. We walked a little further then, without talking. A light breeze was coming in from the ocean, and you could just begin to see the afternoon fog falling from the hills. We passed a huge house where there was an opera on the phonograph playing very loudly, and you could hear someone singing along with the parts of it. "You'll be glad to know," Father said then, very slowly, "that the church feels pretty much the same way you do, Michael." "About what?" "About me and what has happened." "What do you mean?" I asked. "I mean that even though we gave EA back as the board had asked, they still aren't happy. They're as disappointed in me as you are. In fact, they look to me for another parish." I looked up at Father. He had sort of a sad smile on his face as he looked at me and shook his head a little. "You see, there aren't just deserts after all, aren't there? You see, there are just deserts after all, aren't there? But that's awful, I said. How can they do that? You only did what they wanted in the first place. That's true, but apparently they feel I should have stood up to them, had the courage to follow through what I began regardless. They would have respected me more, they say, if I had. I didn't say anything. I was too surprised. You know, Michael, it's a funny thing. Sometimes people haven't got the strength themselves to do what they know they ought to. They need help. They need a leader. But when they find one, they still aren't happy. They expect more and more, and the minute the leader thinks he's finally gotten everything solved and done the way people find something else still to be unhappy with. Like Moses in the desert. He said he and the Lord worked very hard to make life easier for their people, but the people still weren't. Why, I interrupted angrily. Why do you have to talk about that sort of stuff? What about what's happened here at home? What about Mother or Sally Ann or EA? What about him? What has all this done to him? I had tried not to think about EA, but it's hard, late at night when you're alone, to just think about what you want to. I thought about all that, Father said slowly. Michael, I have thought about those things. You should have thought before, not after, I said. I did, Michael, said Father. Before and after, but I knew more after. Yes, when it was too late. Is it too late, Michael? Is it too late, do you think? Don't you think so? I asked right back. Yes, I guess I do, Father said, but I still hope it's not too late to fix some things. Well, I said, a little softer now, I don't see how you could have done much worse than you did. You must have learned something. You are harsh, Michael. No more so than Mother, I said, without knowing really why I had thought that. Perhaps now, not. She feels we should have been more determined. We should have faced the town and the church and Aman too, and exactly as we had planned. What do you think? I asked, holding my breath. I agree, Michael. I agree. We crossed the street into the last of the day's sunlight. What are you going to do now? I asked Father. Resign, I think. I want to, he said. And then what? Then Father said, I guess we'll start all over again. I thought about this. Good, I think that's good, I said. I will miss some things we have here, but I'll be glad to go somewhere else. Because of what happened? Father asked. Yes, I guess so, I said. If I felt there were a way to stay, Father said, and do something good with the time left us, we would have to stay. But there isn't, is there? I asked. I mean, what happened has happened, and that's that. You can't start over here. Do you think we should try to get Edgar Allan back and take him with us? Father asked suddenly. I hadn't ever even thought about this. I did then, just for a minute. Has he found another family? I mean, has someone else adopted him now? Father nodded yes. Then no, I said, I don't think so. It's better to have him stay where he is. Better than having him being given away again. Father nodded. But when we get to wherever we're going, maybe we could take another child and start him properly, really. No backing down, no changing minds, no weakening at the last minute. Is there another way we could do some good? I asked Father then. Because if there is, let's do that instead, at least for a while. You still don't quite trust me, do you? I wanted very much to say yes. No, I said, sort of quiet. That's all right, Michael, Father said, putting his hand on my shoulder. Maybe there's more I have to learn about being both a man and a minister, and how they go together. We stopped walking then and looked at each other. You know something? I asked. What? How come your sermon last week was so short? Oh, Michael's Father said with a smile. Nothing ever escapes you, does it? It was short because I no longer felt I had the right to talk to people in the same way I used to. There wasn't much I could say from up there, and it made sense to me. Not that I doubted God, Michael. I suddenly doubted man. I doubted me. Do you still? I asked. As long as I have all of you, no. That's good, I said, because if MN can change, I don't see why the rest of the world can't. So we turned around and walked home through the twilight, and I saw the first year's falling leaves. That's the end.